welcome to the first ever episode of Lary Talk. Before I get into things, I just want to thank everybody for the support. With the preview last week, I wasn't expecting to get such great feedback from you guys. And I really hoping a lot of you guys join us on the Facebook page and get interactive with us. I have actually scheduled, not scheduled, but will be on soon within a couple of weeks. A surgeon from Rochester Strong Memorial Hospital from the Wilmot Center, as well as a couple of SLPs that work there too. So hopefully we can get that together, get that to be a nice little interview. If you guys have any questions for the doctors or the SLPs, I'll be having a thread on the Facebook page. Then you can ask them anything. I'll have a segment called What's Up, Doc, I think is what I might name it. Something weird. And that's anything where you can ask the doctor anything you would like to ask them. Pre-fall, man, you can do whatever. And I'll be doing the same thing with the SLPs. So hopefully you guys get interactive with that and join in on the conversation, spreading the news. So this week's episode, though, is about my journey in becoming a laryngectomy. It's kind of all over the place and it's really long. So if you got a short attention span, this might not be for you, but hopefully you stick around. So this episode is going to be the journey to becoming a laryngectomy, the things I learned, the things that I would like to pass on to you, the things you do and don'ts. Like, for one, don't wait until the last damn minute to do what the doctor's been telling you to do. That's step one. So anyway, let's start. Where to begin? Well, in 2019, probably around July, my voice had gone from being normal sounding down to kind of more of a deeper, raspier voice than normal. And I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. I was a smoker, used to drink a lot, did a bunch of partying back in my younger days. You know how it is. So by this time, the only thing I'm doing is smoking. I'm barely drinking. I'm working too much to be giving a crap about drinking. So I'm thinking it's just a brand of cigarettes. You know how smoking is, man. You're like, oh, I gotta start smoking a different brand. Because we're idiots like that. So anyway, it starts getting worse and worse. And, we're making fun of it, thinking maybe it's just a bad case of laryngitis or something dumb, And of course, I'm not doing anything appropriate to solve this problem, okay? I'm a stubborn person. Still am. Nothing's really changed on that. But my remedy was like, nah, just get some cough drops. I'll drink some tea. You know what I mean? You're looking up dumb shit on Google, how to solve laryngitis and blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't like I was taking it really too serious. And the job I worked at, I worked with deep fryers. I fried chicken at a chicken shack, you know what I mean? And I'm around those fryers all day, man. And it was irritating my throat and stuff. And I kept asking to get moved, blah, 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 become a driver or something, you know what I mean? Just to step away from it. Plus, it was just hot as shit. And at the time, I was like 320 pounds. I was not a thin guy. So being back there, I'm sweating like a freaking horse. And here my voice is like going worse and worse. So when I'm calling out orders, you can't really hear me too well. And it was starting to get frustrating. And then it was like, I don't know, probably about October or something like that. Around that time period, me and my wife got real sick. Like probably as sick as we have ever been. You know what I mean? We go to the doctor and that's how sick it was. Actually, it was like, let's just go to the doctor. Neither one of us have insurance, by the way, because, again, why? Anyway, so we get to the doctor and, they give us the antibiotics. They treat us for whatever the hell we had and send us on our way. And I had mentioned to them that my voice had been going. And they were like, oh, okay, yeah, laryngitis, blah, blah, blah. But I've never heard of laryngitis lasting longer than a couple of weeks at the most, you know what I mean? And then, but every time I've had it, Mine never lasted any longer than like a couple of days, you know what I mean? It'd be, went to a rock concert or, you know what I mean, just yelling and all that crap. So anyway, they treat us for it, we get better, blah, blah, blah. We go back on our business. And meanwhile, my throat is starting to get a little tight, it felt like, and I was getting a little bit of a pain to it. And the voice was still there, but I mean, I could still yell. It was kind of weird. If I yelled, I could yell, but if, you know what I mean? You couldn't talk like normal. It was like I sound like I do now, kind of. So anyway, fast forward a little bit, it gets worse and worse. And at this time, my wife is nagging me to go to the doctor. You know what I mean? Keeps telling me. And the joke I always say is, you know, I went to the doctor to shut her up, and the joke was on me. Before I get into all that, I just want to explain my wife rocks, man. She's the sweetest woman you'll ever meet. Why she's with me, nobody gets it. I don't even get it. But when she's nagging you, friend, trying to get you to do something to better you, she could be a pain in the ass. So anyway, I go to the doctor. We go to the hospital where we ended up going. And these idiots, because, you know, you don't have insurance. So why bother, right? So they're like rushing me in, not even listening to what I'm saying, not even giving a shit. They x-ray my lungs, and my lungs are fine. You know what I mean? Even for a smoker, I was impressed. You know what I'm saying? Good lungs. I was like, wow, okay. Are you sure? So anyway, they come back and they're like, you got bronchitis. And I'm like, there's no way. And meanwhile, the nurse that's checking us out is a total bitch. And all she's doing is complaining about the other people working. I don't care about your work trauma. I'm a patient. I'm coming there for answers, man. Shut up and do your job, right? Be friendly. Save that for at home or whatever you got to do. But don't do that to your patient. Don't even do that to a customer, man. I don't want your drama from McDonald's when I'm just trying to get a Big Mac. Save that shit for something else. So I'm like, whatever. I'm by this time I'm already frustrated. You know what I mean? And my wife knows not to argue with me because we'll end up arguing together. And yeah, it's bad. So we leave, and I go back to work, and I'm just like, whatever. It's getting worse. Now I've got a pain going up into my ear. It was actually my left ear. And it was starting to get a little bit harder to breathe, just a little bit, just enough to notice, not enough to like make me panic, just to be enough to go, that was kind of hard to breathe right there. So anyway, I go back. Finally, it's starting to get worse, you know what I mean? And I go back to a free clinic. And at first, the woman at the free clinic, she pretty much treated me for laryngitis. And she said, if this doesn't clear up in a couple of weeks, come back and we'll figure it out. Okay. Now it's a free clinic. So when I went back in a couple of weeks, she wasn't there. So actually, it was longer than a couple of weeks. My bad, my bad. It wasn't even a couple of weeks. That's how stupid I am again. Okay, my bad. A month later, I decided, well, let's go back. By this time, it was getting really hard to breathe, and the pain in my ear was getting really bad. Let me flash back for a minute about the pain in my ear. I had a lot of ear infections when I was younger. So an earache doesn't really bother me too much. You know what I mean? I had so many that I felt like I was immune to ear infections. So for my ear to hurt, I usually meant something bad, like real bad, like a really bad infection. And, you know, whatever. So we go to this point, and it's worse than I've ever experienced. I've never had an earache like this. It would pulse sometimes. It would just shoot some fire and pain. It was really weird. So we end up going back, and I cannot remember the doctor's name for the life of me. But this older gentleman came and examined me, actually listened to what I was saying, listened to how long it had been going on. And he said, buddy, you need to go get some tests done. I have a feeling this coming year is going to be a bad one for you. And boy, was that guy right. So again, I have no insurance, and I'm like freaking out how to figure this out because he said it could be cancer, and that's what it sounded like then. So I'm like, all right, well, how do I get this done, man? I have no insurance, none of that. The woman that ran the free clinic got me into a program that at the Rochester Strong Memorial Hospital at the Wilmot Center. They have a program that if you make a certain amount of money, blah, blah, blah. In other words, if you're broke and you have no insurance, like me, you qualify for their cancer treatments and all the stuff for free. They'll cover it. So I'm like, cool, we sign up for this. And I get right in. I'm like, right in. In the meantime, I gone and filed for New York State Medicaid while I was waiting to hear back from them from Rochester, and was actually approved. I was actually kind of amazed. So thank God for Obamacare for that one. I don't want to hear anything about the politics part. So anyway, I get up there, and the whole time I'm making jokes, man. I'm making jokes about it. I'm like, it's just cancer, blah, blah, blah. We're making so many jokes about it that at Christmas, my wife had gone out and bought a megaphone from CVS as a gag gift. Because, like I said, I worked in the chicken area and I had to yell out orders. So we thought that would be funny, and had like little alarms and all that dumb shit, little $5 little toy. That's how bad we were joking about this. So, meantime, in my head, leading up to going to Rochester, I'm like, man, what the fuck? What if this really is cancer? What's next? What's going to happen now? What kind of treatment? Am I looking at chemo? I'm really naive about it too, by the way. I had no idea that a chemo doctor and a radiation doctor, two different things. The guy who does the surgery is not the same guy that's going to be giving you the chemo. You know what I mean? I had no idea about all that. I thought they were all one unit. You know what I mean? So here I am. I'm still making jokes about it. I'm still working. But at the same time, I'm scared out of my mind. But I'm still not really taking it too goddamn seriously since I was still smoking. I don't know. The stubbornness, I guess that's what you would call it. So finally, we get to Rochester, and he takes and does his thing. He goes through what he's going to do. He's going to take a scope up to your nose, go down into your esophagus, and take a look into your vocal cords. And the whole time he does this, you can see it on the TV. You can watch the whole thing. It's kind of cool. The vocal cords look like the beak, I would guess you could say, of the octopus. You know what I mean? Little pinchers. It's kind of cool to watch, actually. You'll have you swallow a couple of times, talk, all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, they spray you on the nose with lidocaine or whatever it's called. You know what I mean? It's pretty much cocaine without a buzz. Literally. So when he does this, you can see the mass on the right, it was the left-hand side, and it was huge, man. It was a pretty good size. I mean, on the camera, and also I'm not a doctor. First time seeing a tumor, I have no idea what the hell I'm looking at. For all I know, it could have been a bug bite. I don't know. You know what I mean? So, and he pulls out the scope, and he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that you have cancer. We need to do a biopsy, and we need to figure it out next. So now it's like, it's hard to explain. It's like a brick wall just slams you in the face, man. Like everything that I was joking about, everything I never took serious is now a reality. Everything that I was like, oh, it's just cancer, oh, da 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 da. I'll just get a voice machine, bad. It's now a reality for me. And so at one point, I was like, maybe my humor It's too much sometimes. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, that humor got me into it and got me through it. Dude, you know what I'm saying? I needed that kind of dark shit. So the ride home, and it's my wife, me, and one of our friends. And I'm trying to be social, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be fun and talk the whole time. I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? I'm gonna die. Flashback, 2017. My father died of cancer in the esophagus, and it's the lower esophagus. And I watched what that did to him and how quick it went. And it was quick. He went into a hospital on a Friday, and by that next Friday, he was in hospice care and passed away. So that was in my head. My grandfather had died of cancer, a tumor in his chest. And my uncle, when he had passed away, we had found out that he had colon cancer. So clearly, this runs in the family. And my dad's genes, the men's side tend to follow each other in a trend. It's kind of fucked up. So now you flash forward to here, and here I am in February of 2020, just 3 years later. I'm only 41, no, 40, sorry. Don't even know my own age, I'm sorry. And now I've got the news that I have the same thing that took my father and my grandfather's life and my uncle. Awesome. Great news to get. What do you do now? You do what everybody does. First, you get angry and deny it. You're like, nah, maybe it's not cancer. Maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I'll get lucky, and this is just something that happens, and they can just remove it and blah, blah, blah. Maybe. But then I know my luck. So it's no, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Face facts, bro. So they do, and they do the biopsy. And of course, yes. So it comes back, and sure enough, squamous, so carcinoma, whatever you want to call it. Pretty much laryngeal cancer. It's a tumor on my larynx, and it was causing my airway to close. And so I take this news, and meanwhile, as soon as all this happens, 2020, a great year, right? Do we have fun or what? Did we not have a great time in 2020? As soon as this all goes down, everything shuts down. Everything. And you guys remember, I ain't got to explain it to you. Y'all know we're still going through the effects of it. So now I've got to worry about cancer. I got to worry about if I'm going to get sick or not. And now my bosses are nice enough to move me off to fryers like I've been asking. So now I'm doing deliveries. So now I'm going out in the public. There's no mask mandate at this point. You know what I mean? It was just everything slowly shutting down at that point. You know, nobody can travel here. You can't do this and blah, blah, blah. And then the mask mandate started. Now, by this time, I had already, the doctor had told me to diagnose it. He recommended immediate surgery. He wanted to get it done. And I'm telling him I want to do radiation and chemo first. I want to do the other option because, you know, I know more than the guy who went to school and learned this, right? The guy who does this every day. The guy had wasted 8 years to study this and all this money. I know better than him. So, you know, that's the kind of guy I am. So 8 years, probably more like 12, you know what I mean? So meantime, I'm trying to figure out, do my own homework. I like to do that. I like to look up my own, and I suggest everybody do it. Look up information, you know what I mean? Not Facebook. I'm not any of that kind of information. I'm talking go and look at medical research papers and stuff like that. And the first thing I wanted to do was see what I would look like after the surgery. So I went to Google and I went to images. Don't do that. You're going to be horrified. Then I was like, well, what do these guys sound like? And I go on and I see the videos, and all the videos I see are hospitals with their laryngectomy patient. And it's probably the best one they got to demonstrate. And the guy sounds like crap. I can't understand a goddamn thing he's saying. I'm like, oh my God, that's what I'm going to be like. Are you shitting me? Next video. And it's about the EL. And the first person I seen, and I don't know, I couldn't understand anything they were trying to say. And then again, it was a hospital video trying to demonstrate what the EL does and how it works. It wasn't like trying to sell the brand, you know what I mean? It was just like, oh, you put it here, da, 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 da. And you know, some jackass doctor in the background explaining everything. So now I'm like, well, what the fuck? What am I gonna do, man? I don't want this. You know what I mean? I don't want this. I'm just gonna do chemo and radiation. I don't think I need this surgery. I didn't get away with that. And all the time I'm telling my wife this, and she's trying to tell me the right thing, but at the same time, she's trying not to argue with me. She's processing this herself. You know what I mean? She's going through her own thing. And, you know, at the same time, trying to be there for me, you know. And me being stubborn, I don't need anybody, you know. That whole cliche. So now I'm like, I'm getting worse. The pain is getting worse. It's getting to the point where I have never had an anxiety attack in my life. You know what I mean? I'm not that kind of person. But there were times where it was like I was having an anxiety attack. I couldn't get my breath. It started happening more and more and more. It would last longer and longer and freak me out more and more and more. You know what I mean? So I'm delivering food one day, and I go to this one business, and they got a really long handicap ramp. You know what I mean? And it's a really subtle ramp. Like you could literally like wheel up it with like one hand, not try it. That's how it's meant for that, you know. And I got to the top of that, and I handed the person their food. And normally I'm one of the friendliest drivers. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Da, 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 da. Here's your food. And I handed him, I was like, here's your food. Sorry, I gotta go. And I could not breathe, right? And I'm trying to run back to my car pretty much at this point. That little incline, that little 20-degree incline maybe, made me go into one of these attacks. So now I'm in my car and I can't drive. I can't do anything. I'm just in the parking lot trying to breathe, trying to breathe. Just get your breath, man. It's gonna be all right. Get your breath. I finally get my composure enough that I drive as quick as I come back to the shop. And I get there and I walked in, and my wife works with me. So she was working that day, or my manager. And I'm like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And that was really rough, man, because I don't quit like that. You know what I mean? Like, not for a physical thing, man. I'll quit because I don't like being disrespected. I'll quit because I think the job is bullshit and I got a better one. But I don't quit because I'm weak. You know what I mean? I don't quit because I'm tired. Because now I'm down on program. So luckily for me, though, my boss is a pretty chill guy and totally understood. And then, sadly, I left them in the middle of like a really busy day too. Like we had a huge rush, man. It was big order. I felt horrible. But at the same time, I don't want to freaking die. So now I'm out of a job. I got to apply for the unemployment. And anybody that's ever done that, you know how fun that is. Meanwhile, I'm still communicating with the doctor about what we're going to do. And I'm like, oh, I still want to do radiation. And he's really, really trying to talk me out of the radiation. Not really talking me out of it. He's doing what he has to do. He's a doctor, letting me know what's going to happen if I do just radiation. You can do a lot more damage going radiation route. Because then if you did need a surgery, it won't heal as right. You know what I mean? You got the radiation damage on your skin, your muscles, your nerves. And so nothing's ever going to heal right, you know? So I get where he's coming from. Same time, I don't want this. I don't want to look like this. I don't want this. You know, now I'm angry. I don't want it. I have no choice to no, because that's the way your luck is. So meanwhile, I'm still, what do I do? I'm looking up everything on Google. I'm watching Facebook. We're watching TV one day, and they got a commercial about Facebook groups. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, don't ask me. You know what I mean? Commercial for that. A couple of weeks of seeing this, and it was over and over and over, man. Like it really was. It was weird. It was like 5 times in like, 2-hour period. So my thing, I'm like, I wonder if there's anything about laryngeal cancer on Facebook. So I go and look, and there is. I was like, wow, there's a lot of things about cancer. And then I seen laryngeal support groups. I'm like, well, shit, there's commercials. Let's check out one of these groups. And honestly, it turned out to be one of the best things I decided to do. It really did. I'll get into that in a minute. Same time all this is going on, right? My wife had met a guy who had a laryngectomy. And she'd been trying to figure out where he was, because like she'd seen him at an old job, and it was like 2 years prior to this. And we happened to catch up with this guy while we were doing laundry. And me and this guy had a good hour conversation about what it's going to be like, what you're going to go through. And he was an old school, this guy had it done back in the 80s. So he didn't even wear a base plate. He didn't even care. You know what I mean? The way he talked, he would squeeze the skin around his stoma to close out the air and talk. I was pretty impressed with it looking back at it. Kudos, dude. So, and I can understand the guy, you know what I mean? He wasn't the clearest fellow, you know what I mean? He was an old man, he probably was 75, 80 years old. So you got to take that into factor. But he kind of gave me hope. He was an older gentleman. He had it done back in like 87. It's a good long time ago, in my opinion. I was 8 years old when he got his done. 8. I was still eating crayons and playing with shit. You know what I mean? Kids nowadays with their iPads a ton. So now I'm thinking, all right, maybe it won't be that bad. So yeah, I end up finding these laryngectomees support groups. There's like 2 really good ones. The other one is just like for head and neck, general head and neck cancer, you know what I mean? Whether it be just on your tongue, your ear, whatever, These are just for laryngeal cancer patients, and precisely for laryngectomy. So like I said in the preview, man, there's goods and bads about these things. The good thing is you can get a lot of info, man. I got a lot of info quick that I couldn't find anywhere else, I don't think. Because hearing from a doctor is one thing. They give you the big scientific name, and and to hear it in layman terms with somebody that's gone through it, way better. The downside, like I said, the support group. So people go there when they're looking for answers, like I was doing. So they're going to ask questions that are terrifying to you because they have nothing to do with you, really. Yet that or it might be something you're going through. So you see like this bombardment of like, oh my God, am I going to do that? Is that going to happen to me? And like I said, it's a good thing to have those kind of things to hear from somebody. Like, you got a tip and it's got a small leak. and it's a Friday night. That's happened to me. And you're new to this, you don't know. You're gonna freak out. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Blah blah blah. If you went to your local doctor, like the emergency room, 9 times out of 10, they've never seen anybody like you. So they're not going to know what to do. You know what I mean? And it's not their fault. I see a lot of laryngectomies get mad about that they don't know, blah, blah, blah. Teach them. You know what I mean? We are a teaching mechanism, if you think about it. If your local hospital has never seen you, show up, show them who you are, ask them if they know. You know, we get raised all the time as kids to not look, don't ask questions, don't look at that guy, don't make him feel uncomfortable by looking. Look, ask questions, and don't be afraid to answer those questions for people. That's how you raise awareness. That's how you get things out there. Well, how did that happen? You can tell somebody. Maybe you'll change something in their life, and they'll not do whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever. If they're a smoker and they quit, good on you. You made them do a healthy choice. What's so negative about that? At the same time, they're learning about something that nobody knows about. That's just my opinion. A lot of people don't like being looked at and stared at, and I get it. But if it's a little kid, have some fun with it. Tell them to eat their vegetables or else they'll get this. I'm telling you, the look on their face is great, and they'll eat their goddamn spinach. So anyway, back to the sport groups, right? I'm looking, I'm getting all the information, but I'm still on the fence. And I asked the question about radiation versus doing the surgery. You know, gave them my little rundown of what I'm afraid of and blah, blah, blah. And I got a lot of really good answers back, you know. The only negativity I ever had is when I first joined, some jerkweed had seen my personal Facebook account and told me I deserved everything I got, blah, blah, blah. He got kicked out real quick. It was nice. But that also brings me to another point about this. So I'll get to it in a minute. Um, so back to my post, I get a lot of really good answers. And a couple of people reached out to me in Messenger, one being a man named Terry. I won't mention his last name for privacy reasons. But he pretty much told me everything about being a laryngectomy patient. You know what I mean? The guy was a singer, so you know, losing his voice is a big deal for him. You know, then told me how it's not that bad. You know, yeah, it sucks. You lost your voice, but it's not the end of the world. You can still do things. He sent me the links to like Tony Thomas and stuff like that. And so he kind of guided me through it. And then with the help of a couple others and just going through, we finally decided 2 months later, by the way, that yeah, I'll go through with this. I have no choice, man. And by this time, I'm really having a problem, man. Like I'm not sleeping. Like if I lay down and fell asleep, as soon as I dozed off, I'd start choking and wake right back up. So I got maybe 20 hours, or not even 20 hours, sorry, 20 minutes a night, if I was lucky. You know, that's if I that was a good night. You know, for the most part, it just keep me up here watching TV, waiting for the morning to take my wife to work, to come back, and then try to sleep and do the same thing over and over and over. And it was kind of depressing, man. It's like I'm like, how do I get out of this? And like, I have no choice but to go through with this, right? So I decided finally I'm going to do it. And May 1st, 2020, I was scheduled for my surgery. Plot twist. Everything is shut the hell down. Everything. My wife cannot be there. Oh, joy. So not only do I get to get dropped off alone and probably one of the most terrifying things I'm ever going to experience. Now I get to wake up alone and recover for what he was saying originally, like 12 days in a hospital, 2 hours from home with nobody, just me. Awesome. This is great news. This is what I want to hear. 2020 was a great year, guys. So, meanwhile, this man telling me it's not that bad, not that bad. We're going to get through it. And, I took his word for it. Took everybody else's positivity. Now, one thing I want to say about a support group, a lot of people will send you friend requests. And in the beginning, I accepted them. Now, here's the downside of that part. I'm not what you would call a good person, I guess. I don't know. I post offensive stuff a lot. And a lot of it's just, poke the bear. I'm that kind of guy. And like the only experience I got in media is doing an old television show back in the day. And the entire purpose of it was to piss you off. You know what I mean? And I achieved it. Trust me, I'm good at it. So if somebody that's really offended by that kind of stuff sees your personal page, they tend to judge you on that. You know what I mean? I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your political belief is. When we're in that support group, we're in there to help each other. And that's all that it's about. You know what I mean? So if you come to my page and you get offended and get mad, that's on you. You know what I mean? Now, if I offend you in a support group, that's on me. So people really got to learn the difference. And like a lot of you guys this week, I love the support, and a few of you have sent me friends requests. And that's honestly why I haven't really replied to anybody. You know what I mean? I don't want my personal account to affect this podcast in any way. You would think I would just tone it down, right? But that's not me. I wouldn't be myself. And if I can't be myself, it's not worth it to me. You know what I mean? That's probably why I never made it anywhere with the TV show, because I didn't care. I was trying to make myself laugh. I wasn't, you know what I mean? So anyway, when you're in a support group, keep in mind, different people have different opinions about different things, okay? Keep that separated. And if you do have somebody and you don't like what they're posting, but you don't want to delete them, just unfollow. It's a real easy thing to do. More people need to learn how to do that on social media. So back to being diagnosed, okay? We're leading up to this. And now I'm freaking out because my voice was everything to me, man. Like, I've never really thought I had a sexy voice, but my wife did. So that kind of meant a lot to me. You know how that is, guys. I had a deeper voice anyway. I was able to do a bunch of different voices, like, stupid things like Beavis and Butthead. I could do a little bit of Kermit the Frog, things like that, that I miss doing now. Or I could still do a bloody accent there. So that's no big deal. You can actually do that on a electric larynx too. Electrolarynx, sorry, can't talk to that. Look that up. You could do it. It's funny. Anyway, leading up to this, I'm like, hell, man, it's my luck, right? It's the way it works. So I'm trying to find a way to keep myself occupied. And for a minute, it was, there was nothing that was really working. Like, I put on a good face because I'm known as the funny guy amongst my friends. You know what I mean? I'm not known as the guy that has to be depressed and all that. And, I'm depressed as shit. I'm the worst I've ever felt in my life. Thinking to myself, what's the fucking point? Right? But then remembering that, my wife, my kids, my grandbabies, I got a whole fucking future ahead of me, man. So giving up's not an option. So we make the plans to go up, and I ask everybody before, and everybody gives you advice of what you should do before you go, right? One of the most popular things is record your voice. I get it, and I did it, but it wasn't my voice. You know what I mean? That was cancer. That was cancer's voice. That wasn't mine. Mine had been gone since July of 2019. I ain't sound the same since then. So that wasn't my voice. I still recorded it though. And it still means a lot to my wife. I called her phone and I left it on her voicemail. So if any of you know how I can get it off a voicemail on a device like a flash drive, you let me know without having to record it 80s style, like I'm waiting for the damn DJ to shut up. Anyway, I also was told to just relax. Don't stress over it. That was the big thing. Relax. It's not going to be as bad as your mind is telling you it. That stuck with me. I'm like, all right, relax, man. You've been through some shit in your life. You got this. Not just cancer. So the night before, I ordered a burger because that's my favorite food in the world. Is a cheeseburger, man. And by this time, when I go to drink anything, it would bottle up in my throat and I have to clear it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Anytime I ate anything, same thing. So it was a struggle and I gave up on it. And that night I did not sleep at all. Um, we had a hotel in Rochester, which is 2 hours from my house. And it was me and my wife. And neither one of us slept. We laid there, we watched TV, we tried to sleep, but neither one of us slept. 5 o'clock in the morning, it's time for me to go. And I'm getting ready, I'm showering and everything, we're rushing. And we get all the way to the hospital. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have my cell phone. Mind you, everything is shut down. Everything. She can't come in. So it's not like she could run back to the hotel, grab the cell phone, and be waiting for me when I came out. So now we're freaking, and I'm like, go back. We're going back. So we go all the way back, man. The hotel's like a 3-mile drive, And we get there, we're running up, we're going through shit, we're freaking out. Well, come to find out, I dropped the cell phone between the seat and the door. Yeah. That's how I got my day started. To go have my voice ripped out of one last argument with my wife. You know what I mean? Where's my goddamn cell phone? Not really an argument because I knew I'm the idiot that lost it. I knew it was me. I didn't blame her at all. She was driving, for Christ's sake. So right there, I'm like, you know what? Things can't get any worse. They really can't. I'm not going to be able to see her until I get out of the hospital. That could be a week. It could be 10 days, 14. It all depends on my body. It all depends on how I heal. And everybody's different. So I can't go by what everybody else is saying in the support group. Because the first thing everybody's going to tell you, everyone is different. You got the age factor, you got health, you already got diabetes, things like that, Or there's a bunch of reasons why everybody's different. And I'm sure I ain't got to explain it to you. I mean, Barney, I think, did a song about it, for Christ's sake. Now I'm going into the hospital, right? This place, NASA, man, big hospital. I have no idea where I'm going. I didn't read they send you on my charter, you know what I mean? They directions, take the green walk, da 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 da. Did I read that? No. Why? Because that's thinking ahead, and that's not what I do. I figured I'd just wing it. I know. So what do? I get there and I ask the nurse, "Can you take me?" And the main reason why I asked her is because I wouldn't have made it walking. At this point, when I walked more than about 20 feet, I would be out of breath. It was a struggle to breathe, man. And mind you, at this time, I'm 320 pounds of just blah. You know what I mean? Not 320-pound muscle, Braun Strowman strutting it. No. Like 300 pounds of like King Kong Bundy turd just laying there. You know what I mean? It was bad. So there's a poor woman, got me in a chair, wheeled me down. We get there. Now, mind you, back then I had teeth. They weren't the prettiest. They weren't the greatest. I wasn't a meth head teeth, but they were bad. Yeah. You couldn't kick a field goal between them, but they weren't, the greatest. So anyway, find out when I get there, they got to remove them because when they go to put in the tube or whatever, when they go to do the surgery, there's a chance they could knock them out. Particles get down in there, blah, all that. So I'm like, well, what the fuck? I don't. Now I'm not going to have a throat and I'm not going to have teeth. Are you shitting me, really? Are you trying to make me the ugliest human in the world? Is that what you're going for? Because you're achieving it really well. So I make a deal with the woman and I'm like, all right, if you could save some, then I can have partials. Cool, I'll be happy. If not, fine, take them all. And she said, okay, I'll leave you if I can. So she did. She left me 5 on the bottom. Like I got 3 on this side, 2 on this side. But they're not good. They need to be pulled. So that's a new journey I got to go on after this, right? But back then I didn't know this. Okay, so I agreed to it. I'm like, whatever. By this time, my blood pressure is through the roof, nervous and scared. I'm wishing I had my wife there. I can't even messenger her at the point because, the Wi-Fi wasn't working and I wasn't on my phone. So it was a pretty scary time, man. And they tell me straight up, if your blood pressure don't come down, we can't do the surgery. Awesome. That sounds about right. So they give you some medicine, right? I have never felt so relaxed in my life. Like, you could have told me you were cutting off my testicle that day, and I would have been like, all right, whatever, whatever you got to do, let's do it, let's get it done. Like, so relaxed. And next thing I know, we're going into the operating room. They go over their whole thing, and I go to sleep. And I know as I'm going in there, I remember looking at Fontana Rosa, my doctor, saying, you're the last dude I'm talking to. And that's the last thing I remember. I wake up and I remember the nurse talking to me. I don't remember what the hell she was saying at all. Like I'm looking around like, where am I? And the first thing I tried doing was talking. I tried saying, where am I? And I couldn't talk. And I'm like, in reality set in, what is going on, where I'm at. And I'm like, oh my God. And the woman seen that I was trying to communicate something. So she comes over and gives me a whiteboard. And the first thing I said is, where's my phone? And she's like, we're getting your stuff up. And I was like, I need my phone now. So that's the first thing I remember. Where's my phone? I'm on my phone. And mind you, the woman doing her job. She's doing great. They're unhooking me from all this crap. I got tubes coming out. I got drain tubes. I haven't seen what I look like yet. I'm just going by what my face feels like. It's like 5 miles big, but I had no pain. None. No pain. And I can breathe. Wow. I haven't experienced that in 6 months. I have no pain. I haven't experienced that in 6 months. That's pretty amazing. I had no pain from the stitches, no pain from the stoma, no pain from where they ripped out the damn larynx. I didn't even get out of that bottle. First I thought, well, they got me really doped up. So yeah, I'm not going to feel anything for a while. But I never had it. I never had any pain. It's hard to explain. You think You would think all that. You'd be just sore as hell. If anything, it started itching after a while. Finally, they get my stuff up. And at this time, I'm up walking around. You know what I mean? And it couldn't have been any more than an hour. Within the hour, I was up walking around. Not to brag, but I felt like a goddamn champ. And I felt all right. I wasn't drowsy and all that. I get my phone and I text my wife. Now, mind you, she had been in Rochester all that day. When we do the caregiver episode, I'll ever come on and tell you their side of what she was doing, visiting in a damn graveyard while I'm in the hospital. The irony, this is why I love that woman, man. The irony of that, it's a historic grave mark, like Frederick Douglass is buried there, Susan B. Anthony. So I get it. I've been there myself and I love that graveyard. But the irony is funny about it. And it's really close to the hospital. But anyway, she had been there all day waiting to hear something. And they kept her up to date pretty well, apparently, which thank God, Rochester was awesome to me. And when she finally got the call that I'm out of surgery and I'm doing well and blah, 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 she decided to go home. And apparently she'd only been home not even an hour. And here I am texting her, hey. Now, if you look back at those texts, not a goddamn one I sent made sense. How she was able to read my, everything. I had just bought a new phone too, so autocorrect wasn't really adjusted to me. And I wasn't adjusted to the phone, and I'm high out of my mind on drugs at a hospital. So how she was able to decipher that, God bless her. I'm reading it the next day going, what the hell did I just say? It looked like a 2 a.m. drunk type. Wake. I'm texting my wife and I'm letting her know I'm okay and I miss her. And, that night was pretty much a haze. You know what I mean? You're still kind of drugged up. I remember bits of I remember most of it. I remember mostly talking to her and looking out the window to the other side, which is the children's unit. And that was pretty much what I remember that night. Now, the next morning, I wake up and I'm more, now you're aware. You know what I mean? Reality has really set in for me. And I'm like, okay, I have no voice. I have no pain and I'm alive. You know what? I'm going to give myself one day, just one day, today. I'm alone. I ain't got to worry about too many doctors coming in. It's a Saturday. They come in 7 a.m. and that was all I really had to worry about other than the nurse, for your feeding or whatever. And I wasn't in bad shape, so I didn't call them or anything like that. And I gave myself that day to self-pity, to woe is me. That was it. That day I was allowed to feel sorry for what I am going through and what I'm doing right now. One day to feel like, oh my God, why me? Why me? Not to, paraphrase Nancy Kerrigan or anything, but the point is, give yourself that one day, but only one day. You can't dwell on it. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? I'm a young guy. I'm only 40 years old. I still got 40 some damn years on this earth, if I'm lucky. You know what I mean? I'm going to give up now at 40. No, man, no. But you need that time to dwell and get it out. You know what I mean? The strongest man will have a breakdown for this. I don't care who you are. You can act like a Billy badass, man, but until you're facing death in the eye. That's painful. You ain't shit. You ain't nothing. This shows you what you are, man. And sadly, some people don't make it. You know what I mean? It's a struggle. It really is. So one day, to pity, the rest, find a way to get through. For me, it just so happened to be the NFL draft that weekend. So I was in the hospital watching the NFL draft on Saturday, crying, watching the NFL draft. On Sunday, not crying, laughing, enjoying the NFL draft. The only time a tear shut up after that was like 3 days later, Don Shula died. Rest in peace to a great coach, man. So Sunday, this one nurse came in, and then, God damn it, I can't remember names for the life of me. I am not one of those people. And unfortunately, not one I can just search and look up, you know what I mean? I can't remember his name, but he was a great nurse. Guy was great. He came in, removed my catheter for me, which, awkward for both of us, I guess. Painful for me, awkward for him. Anyway, and he tells me, we want you to walk as much as you can. And, I'm like, all right. And he tells me if I walk around that ward 13 times, that's 1 mile. And it sounds like a walk, 13 times, holy crap. It wasn't really that big of an area, I mean, it was good size, but it wasn't like, running around Daytona. So I'm like, all right. I'm like, what will that do? And he's like, oh, I'll put the swelling, helps the swelling go down and all in general. And I'm thinking, he's looking at me and going, oh, you're a badass, so it'll probably be good for you to get up and walk around a bit. I mean, he wouldn't be lying, right? So I became known as the silent guy walking around the Wellness Center, 5th floor. I would go around, do about 10 laps, go back to my room, sit in front of a fan because I was sweating so bad. I usually do the feeding around that time. And then I'd start walking again. And I'd hang out at windows, you know what I mean? Looking out around the city. Now, mind you, everything's shut down. So the only people on this floor is patients and nurses. And it's not like the patients are really all hanging out, having a good time. You know what I mean? Nobody really talked to. And it's not like if I wanted to chit chat, really freaking good, right? When I was out there, I didn't have my whiteboard. I never thought to take it with me because, again, thinking ahead. So I would do everything walking around, man, all day long until my wife would get out of work. And then we would use Facebook Messenger. And the great thing about this app, we were able to video chat, but I was still able to text her. So while I'm sending her a text, she's able to speak to me and respond. It was amazing that we were able to do that. You know what I mean? It's the reason why it sucks that I hate Mark Zuckerberg so bad, because that's a really great app. That's a really great feature for somebody like us that was going through that. You know what I mean? But enough sucking on that. So pretty much my day consisted of beating bunch of interns coming in. Like you would have the doctors, like a little doctor. I can't even, I gave him a nickname. I don't even remember what it was. No, it was something funny, but whatever. I gave them a little nickname because they would come in like a little team. And you only have one guy talking, the rest of them looking at you like freaking, like pigeons looking at a camera. He'd be in there messing with your stoma and stuff, removing stuff. Luckily, I was able to get my tubes out though within like 4 days of being in there. Like it was like every day another one was coming out. I was like, ugh, it was awesome. So I was doing really well. I healed really well. I didn't swell up too bad, you know what I mean? And the whole time in my mind, I kept hearing, relax. And it's not as bad as your mind thinks it is. And I realized it really isn't. Like I also tried putting a positive spin on things. I've never tried being the one to dwell on things. Like I grew up poor, so money's not a big thing for me. I mean, most of my family, a bunch of rednecks, so you got that going. So and I grew up not really being the best kid, so it's not like what I always put a bad or a good spin on something. That way I can feel good about where I'm at. You know what I mean? So while I'm in there, man, my nurses, shout out to the Wellness Center in Rochester, man. That 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 cancer floor, those nurses are amazing, and every single one of them were so cool, like polite and nice, and would answer your questions. Do you know how if you ever used a whiteboard, you got to go you writing, right? So my writing, my actual handwriting, isn't what you would call like a doctor would be like, what the hell is that? So that was kind of a struggle for me, but they would take their time and go through it. And they didn't judge me on spelling. They only judged me on the oral. Anyway, so, and they were just really, really nice people, man. I had one girl come in, and it was like 10 o'clock at night. She went to do my beating and check my vitals. And she ended up just hanging out. And we ended up bullshitting. Well, she ended up bullshitting and then reading pretty much what that was. Gave her homework. Here was this thing. But she was really cool, man. And the entire staff was awesome. So, like, my last day, it was like second to my last day there. Like I said, I work at a chicken place, and it's not B-dubs, by the way. And anyway, we ordered food for the entire place. You know what I mean? And I got the entire floor, like pizza and wings, just as a thank you. And not apparently, not enough people are doing that. Not enough people are thanking nurses properly. This though, now mind you, this whole thing is during the 2020 shutdown. New York City's banging pots and pans, you know what I mean, for the frontline nurses. And everybody's, the frontline nurses. Now, don't get me wrong. Good on the frontline nurses. Nothing bad. I'm not going to bash them, especially because I don't want to get canceled. But those frontline nurses weren't the ones taking care of me. The ones taking care of me was the cancer workers. Now you could say because they're there during that, they're frontline workers. Okay, I'll give you that. But I'm sure they were like this year round without a pandemic. These people were amazing. So I bought them lunch. And my suggestion is for anybody that ever goes and deals with your nurse and you're in a long care like that, you're there, treat them to something, treat them nice. They deal with you more than a doctor, way more than a doctor. I've seen a nurse 80 times a day. I see my doctor every other day. I see his little, staff of extraordinary interns. And that was it. The League of Extraordinary Interns. There we go. That's not the name I gave. That's just something I came up with now because I mean, whatever. So be good to your nurses, man. And they'll be good to you. Don't be a dick. That's rule one. Don't be a dick in anything. We get what you're going through. Understand what they're going through too. They're trying to help you. The whole time I'm wanting to know when I'm going to go home. When do I get to go home, Doc? And they kept telling me I have to pass the swallow test and then I'll be able to go home. Because if I'm not able to swallow, I'm not able to eat, that means I have to have a feeding tube. And they want to make sure nothing's leaking, So you got to pass them before you go home. All right. Now, the night before, your feeding tube is in your nose, right? Goes up in your nose and down. Very uncomfortable. Makes your nose run. You're now a Larry. You can't just suck it up. You know what I mean? You can't just, whatever. So your nose is constantly running. Here's a tip for you. This is what I did. They're going to give you a little suction machine, right? It's going to have a handle on it to suck out, your Larry tube and everything. Get the big plastic piece and use that for your nose. It works great. I'm telling you. It sounds great, but if you get a different end, so that way you're using different pieces. And that's even if you care. At one point, it used to come from the same spot. So whatever. So they want me to pass this swallow thing the night before. I'm getting wild. Like I was feeding myself by the end of it all. Like my nurse, they showed me what to do on a Sunday, Saturday, and a Sunday. By Monday, I was doing everything myself, cleaning my own stoma. I was doing my own feeding and all that. All they had to do is come in and give me the stuff. You know what I mean? And stand there and supervise, make sure, the dumb monkey don't screw up. And so I'm standing there and the nurse brings the food, the trays, because you're on a liquid diet, obviously, and leaves. And I'm like, all right, so I'm putting my own thing together and I look at it and I'm like, I wonder, right? And I took a sip and swallowed. And I swallowed it. And I'm like, well, I didn't die. And nothing bad happened so far. I think I could pass this goddamn swallow test. So next day, we get there and I wake up and I'm like, when's the swallow test? They're like, we'll let you know. It's supposed to be like, eventually it'll supposed to be like 10 a.m. And then I'm like, all right. So 10 a.m. comes and I'm like, where's everybody? Like, waiting. 10:30. 10:45. I'm like, oh man, what the hell's going on? Now, mind you, my wife is at home 2 hours away, waiting for the call for me to be like, come get me. You know what I mean? She can't be there. Before I get into that, let me mention this is another reason why you treat your nurses good. Okay, nobody is allowed to come in, right? COVID 2020 shut down. It's a great year, guys. So normally your spouse could be there the entire time with you. You know what I mean? So if they're not there, she's not learning what I'm doing, the things I'm going through, what I got to clean my stoma, how to do this and how to do that, how to clean out the Lary tube. You know what I mean? All these things that I'm learning, she needs to learn too, just in case, So they allowed her for one day, a Wednesday, to come up, and it was supposed to be just for like 1 hour, just to learn with a nurse everything about this, right? So my wife shows up, and I ain't afraid to admit this, guys. As soon as I seen her, I cried like a little woman, man, like a brand new newborn baby. Like seeing her lit up, that was my highlight of the entire fucking thing. You know what I mean? I had just gone through this huge experience, and to see her, and she cried too. We're just holding each other. We're in the bedroom. They're in the bedroom. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We're in the room, and the one male nurse, comes by, and he goes, "I'm just going to shut this," and he closes the curtain. Now it's silly. The guy in me wants to just look at her and be like, "Don't you what?" But we're not there for that. And I'm a gentleman, kind of. So we're being us. She's reading what I'm writing. I'm not really talkative. And because I wasn't given a test in the beginning of surgery. My doctor will explain actually that we'll go into that more about why on a later episode. So meanwhile, we're waiting for the nurse to come in. You know what I mean? Any minute now, they're going to interrupt. We're going to have to learn. And hour goes by, nothing. Hour and a half goes by, still nobody. After a couple hours, the nurses come in to demonstrate for my girlfriend how to take care of my stoma in case I'm not able to and all that good stuff. And the one thing I was with the good lumps, I was able to cough and cough good. Like I shot through my Lary tube all the way across the room, splattered against the walls, kind of gross. So when they make you clean, when you clean out your stoma in the hospital, they have to use the saline bullets. And then you use a little suction machine or long tube, you stick it down in, and it's going to make you cough, which is what it's supposed to do, cough up everything. And then you suck up the rest. So it's pretty funny. Like, we're about to show this to my wife, right? And the nurse was in there with her little assistant, and she's standing right in front of me. And all you see is the nurse grab this poor girl by her shoulder and slowly pull her to the side. And just as she did that, I let out this huge cough and like missed her by like maybe a foot. It was hilarious. That was kind of the highlight of the whole thing, right? So after about like, I don't know, about an hour or so, my wife left, and it shows that if you take care of your nurses and you're good to them, they're going to be good to you. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the point I wanted to make on be good to your nurses, because they'll benefit you in the end too. And granted, if you got a douchebag nurse, I'll take her crap, but for the most part, the nurses are good. All right, so let's get back to this swallow test thing, right? So, like I said, I had swallowed the night before, and I'm waiting for them to finally come get me. And it finally happens. They wheel me down. Like I said, this hospital was huge, man. So it seemed like it took 2 days to get there. Kind of felt sorry for the guy pushing the giant bed. So we get in there, and the swallow test is actually kind of cool, man. Like you stand into this X-ray machine, then you can see live, like on like a television, of you X-ray. You know what I mean? In live action, it's kind of cool. So they'll give you a liquid, and they'll tell you to swallow, and you can literally watch it go down. It's really cool to watch. And luckily, I passed it flying colors. I had no issues with it, no leaks, nothing. So I'm in my room about an hour after the test, right? I passed everything with flying colors, no leaks, nothing to worry about. And that's when I meet my second SLP, Lisa. And you'll get to meet Lisa, and she'll be on the show later on. She and my other SLP, Pete, have agreed to come on the show. And then I'll have announcements later on about who else. It's actually pretty exciting who I've got coming up right now. So they bring me pudding and I think it was orange juice or apple juice. That's what it was. It was like pudding and apple juice, which really gross together. I don't know if you ever had that. But she pretty much wanted to make sure I could swallow and that I could be able to eat something soft like pudding, Later on, you could do like mashed potatoes. She also had me do a saltine cracker just to see if I can eat a saltine cracker, which I was actually able to do. Surprising with the no teeth, and at this time I still had stitches up in this damn thing. So that was pretty cool. And I have called my wife, and probably about 2 hours later, she showed up and I was able to go home. Now, your first night back, man, I don't know how it was for anybody else, but it was a relief for me, man. It was just great to be home. It was great to be. And for some reason, home looked different. It was the same, but it looked different. It seemed like everything was different. Our ride home didn't see the same, inside my house, like then really didn't see the same because the girlfriend or the wife had bought a new sofa. So that could be part of it, but I was just seeing things with a different light, I think. And next thing I know, Lynn Care is getting a hold of us. They're dropping off this massive amount of equipment. I mean, a massive amount. Like I got a suction machine. I got this, these tubes that go along with stuff, and like the humidifier mask to go over your stoma. And I'm thinking, oh great, I gotta use all this stuff on a daily. What the hell? Then the tubing was massive. Like I had enough tubing, like I could pipe the hell out of your house. You know what I mean? It was insane amount. And come to find out, man, I didn't need a majority of that stuff. I'm a young guy. I got good lungs. It's not dried out. I didn't have any complications from the surgery. So a lot of this stuff I felt like it was a waste of money. But never know, later on, 20 years from now, I might need it. So I don't know. I thought it was a little unnecessary, the stuff they give you though. But then again, if you need that stuff, use that stuff. You know what I mean? But again, after all of this, one thing that was great about it was I had no pain and I was still alive. And that's really what mattered, man, was I was still alive. Like even if I had pain, whatever, you know what I mean? Small place to live. But the whole time, the entire time, I was just trying to keep my spirits up the best I can. What I suggest everybody do is find something to keep you distracted. Find a hobby or something. Once I got out of the hospital and home, and I was in that transition period of waiting for radiation and chemo, I was trying to find things to do, man. Like we went camping, which was probably not the brightest idea, but I did a lot of fishing. Uh, Sadly, the fishing last season was more discouraging in upstate New York than cancer, in my opinion. But can I say I like catching fish? I don't like actually fishing. Nobody likes sitting there. So all in all, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Your brain thinks the worst. You look up the worst. You see the worst. What you got to do is focus on the positive. When you're in a support group, find the ones that are cracking jokes, man, because those are the ones that are going to do good for you. They're the ones that are going to keep your spirits up and let you know it's not that bad. Look up people, look up people and the things that they're doing around here. Like, I mean, there's two different ways you can look at this, man. You can have a positive attitude about it, or you could dwell on it. And if you dwell on it, nobody wants to help you. You know what I mean? Like, more people are willing to help you if you're less of a dick. So, what did I learn about this experience? Well, I learned mostly you don't wait. If you got somebody, and if you got a doctor that has spent his entire career studying this, wrote a book on it or whatever, and they're telling you something, you probably should listen. As far as like the second and third opinion go, yeah, you can do that route too. I didn't really personally go that route because my surgeon was actually on a committee of doctors that look at it and go, okay, together they decide this is what you need. So I got lucky on that aspect. And most cancer hospitals are like that. It's not one dude making decisions. It's a bunch of people that know their shit got together, and this is what you need to do. So listen to them first, you know what I mean? Before you go listening to some other people's advice, before you go finding anything on Google, and for God's sakes, stay away from all the medicine man crap, man. You're not going to find an herb that's going to save you. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen, man. You can pray all you want. You're going to need it if you're a religious person. You're going to need the spirituality of things, but it's not going to save you. The only thing that's going to save you is that doctor that knows what he's talking about. Listen to him. Do what he says. He knows his shit. Have you studied cancer as long as he has? Probably not. So that's the one thing I learned. The second thing I learned is to find positivity somehow, whether it be in music, whether you go paint, whether if you're working, you just submerge yourself in work, whatever helps you. Do whatever you need to do. Another thing I learned, take into consideration about the people around you when you are going through this. You know, when I first went through it, I wasn't really considering my wife too much. You know what I mean? I was more worried. I mean, I was considering like what's going to happen if I die type thing. I wasn't considering how am I affecting her now with my attitude and how I'm taking it. You know, not listening to her side of things or just blowing it off. Listen to the loved ones around you, man, especially the ones that are really there. You're going to find out which ones are real and which ones are full of shit. You're going to have a lot of people on Facebook sending thoughts and prayers and wishing you the best. And if you need anything, let me know. But you'll find out which ones are real and which ones are just trying to save face on social media and being on the right side of history. Real quick, trust me. And the last thing I learned is it's not that bad. It's not the end. You can do whatever you want. The whole reason of this podcast is to show maybe a DJ or somebody else that does podcasts in the future and has to go through this, that you can still do it. Maybe there's somebody right now on the fence watching this, not sure if they want to go through the surgery. You see me and you're like, wow, that guy's actually doing something. It's not that bad. And guess what? It's not that bad. There's a lot of worse things that can happen. You could be dead, you know, and you're not. You're alive. Be happy about that. Be thankful about that. So that's pretty much my story about becoming a Larry. Later on, we'll get into about radiation and all that good stuff. That's where really, like, the surgery is bad enough knowing that this is what the outcome is. Not bad. But the radiation and chemo, that kicks your ass, man. That's a bad one. And we'll get into all that kind of stuff in another episode. But until then, enjoy your lives. Have a great time. And I'll see you next time.
Everybody wake up. It's a brand new day. And this is your chance to let your soul shine. Proud to be you and me, freaks and geeks. Always remember that your soul is divine. Come on. When the road resting, when the sun sets, we bust out paint and make a big mess. And take a big breath, cause the air is fresh. Like, man, this world here sure is beautiful.